why some houses are called haunted.
What would you call this place?
Well, diseased, sick, crazy. Such houses are described in the Bible as lepers. Before that, a homeless race for the underworld. A house of demons.
Hello everybody, this is Irene Allen Block, the host of the Paranormal UK radio show, the flagship show on the Paranormal UK radio network. And with me again tonight is my co-host, Mark Johnson.
Hello, is it Paranormal Momo? Paranormal
You know I can't get round big words.
It's paranormal, dear. You know, it's...
Oh, what did I say then?
I think it came out like paranormal or something like that.
Like I said many a time before, Mark, this is a tongue twister.
Ah, yes. For
It
you.
is a tongue twister. The
For
Paranormal
you, anyway.
UK radio show, the flagship show of the Paranormal UK radio network, people.
Okay, well, you're the one who named the show, and you named the network. So whose fault is it that you can't say it?
It is my fault. It is my fault, I got to admit. I should have named the network something different, but, you know, that's the way it's gone. You know, it's been the Paranormal UK radio network now for God knows how many years, and that's the way it's going to stay. PAUK.com. No, PAUKradio.com.
That's right.
Oh, dear.
So how have you been?
I'm exhausted now.
So how have you been?
I've been fine. I had a few problems this week, and you too. You had a poorly dog. I've had a poorly dog. And thankfully, both of them are back. You know, these are two old dogs. They're back up on their feet and doing their thing again.
I was really worried about Dakota. I mean, he's 14, and we really thought he was on his way out. He had a few bad days. Talked to the vet. The vet's pretty much had us convinced he was going to be gone in a day or two. It's like, oh my God. And you know what? He turned right around and rebounded. Now he's eating like crazy. His personality's back. It's like, I think maybe he just had a bug or something.
Yeah, it's like my Denzel. Now, my Denzel, right, he had bloat 2 years ago, a thing called bloat. People, be careful when you're feeding your dogs because they can get bloat. If you don't know what it is, look it up, read about it, because you've got 45 minutes to get him to a vet for an operation.
Yep.
Okay, so he had bloat. He had an operation. He had half his stomach taken away or whatever, and he had his stomach sewn to his chest wall. And, you know, he's had quite a few teeth out at the same time because while he was under, it was worth doing his teeth. So he's needed all his teeth removed. Plus, he's got hip dysplasia. He's a big dog. He's got hip dysplasia. Most big dogs do have hip dysplasia. And he couldn't walk. He couldn't walk. He was dragging his back end, you know. His back legs just were not working. And I had a feeling all the time what he'd done is he came down the stairs. I'm sure he either came down the stairs and hurt himself awkwardly jumping off the steps or running down the garden, and he twisted something or pulled a muscle or something like that. Well, my husband, he practically had him written off, you know. He thought that was the end of him and he would have to take him to the vet and one thing or another. But we got some painkillers that we've got for dogs out of the cupboard, anti-inflammatories, gave him them. And within 24 hours, 48 hours, he's up and walking, no trouble at all.
Yep.
And still jumping up on the sofa.
Yep.
So there you go.
Dakota's the same way. His legs are really getting worse, not working very well. He's very, very stiff, especially his back legs. But we've been giving him like one Advil a day plus some glucosamine, and he's doing a lot better. So
yeah, my dog's doing. That's what Denzel takes as well. He gets 2 tablets a day. But it's glucosamine. I can't say the blasted word. Glucosamine.
Glucosamine, yes. You can say glucosamine, but you can't say Paranormal UK Radio Network.
Never mind. So what's been happening with you besides the problems we've had with our animals?
Just all work and no play make Mark a dull boy.
Well, that's nothing different than anything because you are a dull boy. But, with me, it's just been raining here all the time. Weather forecast, everyone, raining in Wales, as usual.
Well, we had our first snow here today, briefly. Didn't stick, but winters come real quick. And
you are lucky.
Well, they're expecting a really hard winter this year. So, just got to get prepared for it.
Well, it is going to be because my holly tree this year is totally packed with red berries. And the old saying is, if it's packed with red berries, you're going to have a poor winter. You're going to have a really bad winter. So, but I'm hoping for snow. You know me, I love the snow.
Well, I wouldn't mind having a white Christmas. And I have my best friend since junior high is going to be coming to stay with me for a few months, starting in December. So
that'd be nice.
It'd be nice for him to see a real East Coast Christmas.
Yeah.
Plus white Christmas, although, he's going to freeze his butt off in the process because he grew up from California.
Well, you know what I'm doing for Christmas?
What?
I'm taking my granddaughters to the ballet.
Oh.
Swan Lake, the Russian State Ballet.
Lovely.
Yeah. Swan Lake.
I've gone to the Nutcracker here a couple of times in New York City.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I could say something about nutcrackers, but I won't. I'm going to keep this clean.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about your pet names.
But anyway, like I said, and my youngest granddaughter, she's 3 years old? She's been pirouetting all around the house.
She's getting ready for it.
She's getting ready. Yeah. So I've got a 3-year-old granddaughter, a 7-year-old granddaughter going, and then a 13-year-old granddaughter. So it's going to be quite some fun. I'm looking forward to it. I really am looking forward to it. I haven't been to the ballet for a long time. Well, it's opera next year. They don't know that yet. I'm taking them to the opera. I am going to create ladies of these girls. Well, they do everything else. They horse ride. They've got their ponies and God knows what else. So, yeah.
Well, I think we're ready to get on with the show now. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I was just giving up there,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're running out of steam, so.
Right. Okay. Do you want to introduce our guest, or?
Yes. We have a very unique guest tonight. His name is Daniel Teague. And Daniel has his website, vegasstarhealings.com. And Daniel is, you know what? I think I want to let Daniel explain it. So, Daniel, welcome to the program.
Hey, Mark. Hi, Irene.
Hello. Hello, Daniel. Now, Daniel, you're a distant healer.
I am.
Yes. And a soul walking. Now, that's interesting.
That's a label.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to explain all this to us? Are you going to tell us a bit about yourself? How did it start? Where did it start? What caused it to start? All that.
Okay. I'll jump in and I'll just take pauses so you guys can discuss and whatever from there. Mm-hmm. So I originate from New York. So I'm Mark's rival.
I'm just going to say, watch it, Mark.
We can talk about hockey later. No, I grew up on Long Island, New York. And in the 1990s, I was in high school, in the early 90s. I'm going to kind of give this whole thing a timeline. Mark, you have the notes.
Yep.
So in 1992, I was set to graduate high school.
You're young.
Excuse me. Well, you're only as young as you feel. How's that?
You're young. Compared with me, you're young. Okay.
So I was set to graduate high school in 1992, and unfortunately something blocked my path. So one night, a bunch of us went to the movies, and on the way out from the movie theater, we had piled in a vehicle to drop everybody back off. And I did, there were several people in the car. I was driving, and I dropped people off as you do. And there was just me and my friend that was left after about an hour of driving. And that's the last thing I remember. And I woke up in a hospital a week later.
Oh.
So it's something like that.
Oh.
And I woke up, and I didn't. Obviously, you wake up from. I was in a coma for a week, is where this was headed, and it's surreal when you wake up and you don't. You feel strange because of the situation that you're in, but at the same time, you know, people are telling you that you have broken bones and all that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I get that. I'm in a hospital, but it was very strange. The soul walk-in part. That stuff kind of, I had found out about that thing 16 years later. From that's down on the list in 2007. But so it started with a traumatic accident.
Yeah, sorry, Daniel. You had an accident. At that particular time, you had the accident. Obviously, you didn't know what a soul walk-in was.
I had no idea what anything was. I was an 18-year-old kid going to school. I was shy. Really shy. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I had in-school friends, but when it came talking to strangers, I couldn't start conversations unlike today. Yeah. And no, it was just, it is what it is. And then what I had noticed.
This is why it took 16 years to find out.
Well, it started, well, that's life, but we're going to get into all that. So I got out of the hospital. I recovered from my injuries, and it was surreal what happened next. I started to develop, well, it was almost like a rapid onset of a personality change. Because I said prior to the accident, I was a pretty shy kid.
Yeah.
Post-accident, I wasn't really shy anymore. And I, internally said to myself, this is great. I love it. I had no idea what I was in store for. Because I was able to, on the fly, I was on crutches for that year, but go up to a stranger for whatever reason and literally just start a conversation on the fly, and that's that. And it's never stopped. And, life continued. And, when people talk about soul walk-ins, I need to fast forward and backwards type of thing with this.
Yeah.
It's very goofy because I retain the memories of my family at the time of the whole incident with the accident.
Yeah.
But it would seem like over time, the fabric of the memories didn't quite seem to be mine. It was almost like it was artificial. And sometime within the same year of my accident, I had, it's like, this memory of something seemed to creep into my mind, and I don't understand it at all. I've asked people about this memory, and I'm going to describe it to you. And they the professionals, the hypnotherapists, the psychiatrists, the psychics have all told me that's the walk-in. I'm like, well, that's weird. So what I actually experienced was I can't say it was real life. I can't say it was a dream. It was a memory. It was like a memory implant that just occurred. I remember, I don't know what time of day it was, awakening somehow in this room, and I couldn't really see anything. My eyes seemed to be looking. I didn't have like a visualization directly in front of me. I could only see peripheral vision, if that makes any sense. So there's not much to see other than shadows and shapes moving around.
Yeah.
But I could hear this extremely loud humming noise that seemed to go through me or through the room, but it seemed to mask all noises in the room. And
was it something like 1,000 bees buzzing?
It's weird. However, a hum is. Yeah,
Or was it just a high pitch?
No, it wasn't a high pitch. No, this was definitely a lower pitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, good description with the bees. I don't think it was quite bees, but loud and like that. And that's all that ever happened. But I mean, I said to myself, why can't I move? Or I couldn't tell you if I was even breathing. I couldn't tell if I had a body. I couldn't feel anything. I was totally numb, but no tingles or anything like that, just nothing. And I said to myself, am I dead? Because if I'm dead, this sucks. And then I remember just shutting, what I thought I was doing is shutting my eyes and opening my eyes, and my gaze would be a little bit different than prior to, but not much change. The humming noise was still there. And I'd be told later on, well, your consciousness was there, but no body. And, I don't know. It's a very, very, very surreal experience. So that's the end of the memory for that. That would be the considered soul walking experience, which
so the memory, the memory of your family and everything, was that like vague, like there was a curtain over it?
It's very hard to
like it's distant.
Yeah, like my parents could be in the room with me, but it's almost like I'm adopted.
Yeah, it's
so surreal, and I'm not on paper adopted or anything like that. These are my parents. That's my brother. But guess what? I can't tell you honestly that it's very it will make a person crazy.
Yeah. Now this, soul walking. The majority of people are going to now start thinking that somehow your soul has been removed and another one took its place. It's not always like that, is it? It's more that you've still got your soul, but it's more that something else has just entered and
so I have another way to
inhabits
explain
that body.
This. Yeah, Irene, I've got another way to kind of look at this. So I have a background in computers. That's what I did for many, many years. And with a computer Windows operating system, you have something called a profile.
Yeah.
And the profile can hold like a folder called documents. And it has a folder called the desktop, and it has other sorts of folders that represent different things.
Yeah.
What if your soul was like the profile, and it had different things that would make up the personality of a person?
Yeah.
What if you took that profile out, stuck another profile in to the same person? Then the personality would be completely different.
Yeah.
But you'd have sort of.
That's a good way. That is a good way of explaining it. Yeah.
It's just an alternative view to explain an extremely difficult thing.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of look at it. So yeah, the family knows who I am, but it's kind of like looking the opposite way. It's like, who the heck are you? I know you, but I don't know you. It's very strange.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it did lead to a lot of estranged relationships in the family. People can say it's other things, but in the end, yes, we have communication, but it's not anything that it was. You know, and it has been many decades since the incident, and they'll never discuss it. They don't want to talk about that stuff.
I have a question regarding the whole walk-in theory, because, I understand from a basic point of view, it could be either a separate soul, let's say, other than your own, either takes over, one soul leaves, another one comes in, or is like what you were mentioning a little bit earlier, Irene, or possibly even like another personality comes in. It's almost like a shared body experience. Which do you feel best describes what you were dealing with?
It's hard to explain. I don't know if I have honestly a unique answer for that. I know that because it's personality, so nobody actually took over my physical matter. But
it's similar to what people experience after having organ transplants and things like that, isn't it? In a way, they feel like they're not the same person, that they've taken on a piece of that not everybody that has organ transplants, I must say this, but there have been reports that people that have had organ transplants feel that they have something of someone else in their conscious mind.
Yeah. See, for me, and Daniel, you're gonna learn. I'm gonna be asking a lot of deep or strange questions as we go, because I have a very different point of view for a lot of spiritual aspects, things that my mind has been kind of altered over the years, and what we've learned, and all the people that Irene and I have interviewed, and our own experiences. So just trying to sometimes I wonder if it's because of if you look at the soul itself, we are the simplest idea of the soul that most people seem to understand is the soul is one entity, and it comes in and inhabits a body. When that body dies, it leaves, goes to the spiritual plane until reincarnation happens, comes and lives another lifetime, and then you have that cycle of return, living multiple lifetimes. Now, of course, in all of those lifetimes, you're living as a different person, different personality. But then, yet, what gets really intriguing to me is when you start thinking about the new concepts that are coming out, very old concepts of time itself, and possibly we're living all of our lives simultaneously at the same time, and everything is happening at once. So is it really a different person walking in, or is it another aspect of yourself that somehow, due to the accident, you've been able to access? Maybe a version of your higher self, or something to deal with another one of the personalities that have always been a part of you?
That's a really good way to ask that question. It could be either or. I didn't give myself the label soul walking. A group of people did. I just described what I describe, and these people all came to the same terms of, oh, you must be a soul walking.
No, we just wanted to describe it for the listeners, because many of them more than likely have never heard of it.
Oh, I get it. I've met other soul walk-ins, supposedly, but they're not like me. As we'll find out, I made this whole thing extremely positive for myself. Whereas other people get negative, depressed. There's suicides. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Mark, I have to agree with you. It could be another side that was bumped or, accessed because of an accident. I'm open to that. I'm not going to knock that away, because there is no way to prove or disprove it. So yeah, I would agree. It's just very strange to talk about.
Yeah.
But people need to hear it, because it's reality, and it is happening all over the place. I think there is more walk-ins than people are letting on to be, because when people have an accident, they have a period of amnesia, and then they wake up and they don't know who they are. But they are still functioning. It doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to live a life. It just may not be the same life.
That's right.
If they're not open to, I've seen paranormal in my childhood, and I never knew anything about the psychics. Yes, we have all heard of fortune tellers and all that stuff, but even when the wreck happened, I never even had the idea maybe I should go see a psychic. It never even entered my mind.
No.
To be honest, I was so just done with everything that had happened to me. I just wanted to get on with my life, start some sort of start to a normal life. Well, I tried. Didn't quite work out.
Well, do you want to continue your story now?
I would be happy to. Mark, are you cool with what I said?
Yes, let's continue.
So like I said, I tried to live a normal life. I was going to school.
Yeah.
And still, locally on New York there. And it was surreal what the next thing that happened to me. I would be at a friend's house, and, coming up into the holidays of whatever year. And I would get, he'd be on the phone with his dad or something and say, oh, my father and friends are going to come for Thanksgiving or whatever the holiday was. And then the weirdest thing happened. It was like somebody put a megaphone to my head, and I hear a third-party voice say that won't happen.
Yeah,
you want to talk about what the freak was that?
Yeah, I get that.
It's surreal.
Granted, it is when it first happens, but
absolutely.
It gets to a point in your life where you go, "Oh, shut up."
But when you're a kid and you're scared and you don't know what's happening to you, and I still have to talk about a couple more things with the walk-in, but the voice would say, "That's not happening." And I'm like, I'm looking at my friend and he's looking at me, and I don't say anything. Because I don't know what the heck just happened. And the voice would go away.
Yeah.
But sure and behold, that day would arrive and people are supposed to come and they don't show up. Because they've been in a car accident. They didn't die or anything, but the point was the message actually was accurate because it said they're not coming.
Yeah.
The point was they were referencing people or a person. It scared the crap out of me even more. And then I told my friend, blah, blah, blah. I got this message from something, and he's like, well, if it happens again, just let me know.
But although it's inside your head, it somehow feels like it's in your ear as well. You know, as if it's coming from the outside, but it's not. It's coming from within. Or it is AVP. That's the nearest I can get to it. You know, like I said, I think it was last week or the week before on the show, Mark, I hunted the bus queue for somebody that said something to me one day when I was coming home from work and queuing up for the bus. I turned around and looked at everybody in that bus queue, thinking it was someone in the bus queue, before I realised it was not anything to do with the bus queue. You know?
So let me, if you mind, I wanted to tell you, I want to relate another story. Not the same stuff, don't get me wrong, but another example of WTF, what is going on here. So the same time frame, movie theaters. Go to them at night. There's some reason, this is a repetitive thing too. When the movie broke, you leave through the exit doors and there's the parking lot. As soon as I hit the exit doors, I would feel as though the experience would be feeling like you're out of body, but there's no visual change. It's a sensation. And I did not feel locked in my body. I would be like, what is going on? Is this something new? It's like, well, how you are and Mark is right now, you pretty feel you would say that you're locked into your own body. Mentally and emotionally, I would assume.
Well, I'm stuck in this seat at the moment.
Well, and I've been accused of being out of my mind on more than one occasion. So,
all right,
yeah,
bad example. True. But theoretically, you can kind of see this. So you're locked in right now. What if you weren't? What if you were more fluid? And you're like, the experience was I literally would feel absolutely odd. Like I'm like my consciousness just walked in 30 seconds ago. I was like, whoa, what is happening? I thought I was healed and we're done with this. I would literally, as we're in the parking lot, my friends are looking at me. I'd be like taking my hand and waving it in front of myself. Like, is this my body? At this point, they're like, great, what's Daniel been drinking?
Yeah.
But the sensation would last the length of time that I walked from the doors to the car. So 30 seconds to a minute. Yeah. And then it would be over, and as weird as it came on, the memory of it vanish.
So when it's over, do you feel kind of out of balance a little bit?
No, not at all. It was literally just a moment. It literally just felt like a moment of what the hell. But then as soon as I'm in the car and I'm rested, I'm back in body, it seems to have never been. Like the memory it's gone. It's like a moment. And then it's back to regular life.
Yeah.
Surreal, right?
Well,
so go ahead.
I can't say it's surreal because these sort of things happen to me daily. So, you know, I kind of know where you're coming from, though. I really know where you're coming from.
So going forward from there, I'm going to bounce forward a decade because honestly, everything seemed to just mellow for the next many years. And I thought that whole part of my life was over, and I just go forward.
Yeah.
So 10 years later, I'm living in Florida, okay? And the person I'm with, we decided to take a trip to St. Augustine, which is a beautiful area on the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah. There is an old Spanish fort there on the beach. And so we're there, and we see this thing. There's a signage posted for, like, ghost tours for the fort at midnight. Mark, go ahead.
No, yeah, I'm just agreeing with you because St. Augustine, yes, is a very haunted town, and a lot of the shows have done episodes there.
No doubt.
Okay, so you went to this ghost hunt this night?
So we decided to pay, and it's a midnight tour around the fort. And we're like, cool. At the time, I was starting to really get into the television shows that do all the paranormal investigation, because it's novelty, it's an eye-catchy thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't into that stuff, but I kind of was sneaking back around. Excuse me. So we go on the tour, and there's a large group, and they give you the little meters and all that stuff. And I said, I don't want this stuff. I just want to go out on the beach. I actually asked the leader if I could shoot out ahead and kind of just walk around on my own. I said, have a blast. Yeah. So I walk around this big fort, and I find myself on the beach side. So you have the water, the beach, the fort. And I noticed there's another guy that was in the group that he's about 100 yards away from me. And I guess he's doing his own thing. And what happened next was crazy. It's dead quiet on this beach area. And
do you know, I'm visualizing this as you're saying it. Carry on.
That's a good imagination.
Yeah, I've got a very good imagination. Yeah. That's why I write books.
Okay. So I am there just in the moment, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. I hear what sounds like rocks whistling past me. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And I hear him, it's so loud, like a whistle. I hear this pop noise against the wall that, I don't know, it's like 20 or 25 feet away on my right side. The water is still calm on the left, and the guy is still up ahead of me. And I'm like, if that's a rock or a pebble, how is that guy throwing it at me that far away? It's taking a 90-degree turn and hitting the wall? No way.
Is this the wall of the fort?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it was under attack sort of thing. Mm.
Okay, so my throat's drying out too, by the way.
Have a slurp.
So, I'm perplexed what's going on.
Yeah.
And then it stops. It happened a couple of times and it stopped. And the group comes around, the leader looks at me and he's like, are you okay? I said, I have no idea what just happened. He's like, well, go ahead, describe what happened. And I told him what I just told you. And then his mouth drops open. I'm like, here we go. And he's like, do you know where you're standing? I said, no, not other than the obvious, no. He's like, you're right next to the execution wall.
Oh, my God.
Huh.
And it occurred to me, muskets maybe back then. It's like 1400s or something.
Yeah.
It's this Spanish war fort or something like that. I'm not 100% on that, but it goes way back. And trust me, this was nothing scary. It was so liberating to hear him say that. I was like, wow, the paranormal has come back, and I got it on an audio this time. Or this sort of experience. Absolutely wild.
You caught it on audio, did you? You say?
No. It was just an audio, like I heard it.
AVP. Audible voice, like an audible voice.
Didn't record it. No, this is just I heard it. So
yeah, AVP.
A difference between EVP and AVP. Yes.
Yeah.
What is it? What does AVP stand for?
AVP is an audible voice phenomena, or in your case,
where EVP is electronic voice phenomenon, which is what's recorded on like a digital or recorder, or tape recorder that you don't hear at the time.
And the other one is you hear it with your own ears.
That's a new term for me. I'll remember that.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, and that was the experience. It was mind-boggling. And I was like, that's cool. And then, life kind of continued for a while, and then I ended up coming on out to Arizona. Where I am today. I've never seemed to left. No, but so I visited the family out here in 2007. So we're going to jump forward in the years here. I ended up visiting Arizona, and here's another WTF experience. And I don't
I
need
love
to
this
explain
WTF.
I don't need, you know what that means. I'm not going to say it on the radio. So
Well, we quite often do, you know.
Yeah, it's our network. We can say what we want.
You can step in that one if you want. So I was visiting family, and it was March 2007, and I'm sorry, 2006 possibly, and so they say, you want to go, we're going to do some shopping. We need to go to the mall. Do you want to go with us? And I said, sure. So we go to this big mall, and they said, we got to go shopping. Why don't you do whatever you want for the next hour? And I said, okay, that's fine.
Is that yours, Mark?
Nah, that was mine.
We've all got dogs.
I apologize. He's loud. But it is what it is.
I've gagged my lot.
I don't want to know. So we go to this mall, and they go into a store to go shopping. And I decide I'll just walk around in the mall area. I just do the big lap as you do. And I start walking. And, it's morning, early morning on a weekend. There's nobody in this mall. Totally empty. And I'm walking, and then I get this like very strange sensation that something's about to happen. And I kid you not, this is what I saw. I saw a translucent, transparent screen, SCREEN, drop down in front of my vision. It was like, I'm like, what the heck? It almost was something out of a goofy TV show. Yeah. I was looking for the cables, like holding on to this thing, but there was nothing there. And I'm looking at it because it seems to be going with it's not interrupting my walk. So what the heck? I'm looking at this screen, and what I'm looking at is the same view that I have out of my own eyes of the mall. But then I noticed there's a slight difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so the slight difference was it wasn't the stores that were exactly to my side, left and right side. It seems to be they were ahead of me. And then I see the screen. It looked like it made a left turn, and it came to a food court-like area. And it shows this man with dark skin leaning backwards against a wall with one foot up, and his arms are crossed. Excuse me. And then it shows this man starts to walk toward the screen. Yeah. Briskly. And then it shows that it seems to hit the screen, and there's a wallet that gets lifted, and then it shows this man running off toward an exit door.
So you were like, it was like similar to a premonition?
Hang on. So then the screen disappears. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, what happened? And then I turn the corner, and there's the guy with the bloody army jacket. I'm like, oh, my God.
And it wasn't like, your wallet, was it?
When you're in the moment, okay, when you're talking about it post-tense, it's a very calm sensation. When you're living it, it's an adrenaline nightmare. So I see everything that just occurred, and the guy is now coming at me briskly, and my adrenaline is pumping. And it's also weird. I had never sensed this before. It was almost like every spirit nearby was screaming at me to wake up, but there's no noise at all. It's just a sensation. Yeah. So the man gets within about 2.5 to 3 feet of me, and then guess what I did?
Walloped him? Did you wallop him?
No. Why does everybody assume this? No.
I would have done.
So logically, if I had stayed that course, obviously I was going to get toppled. And I did check my back right pocket. My wallet was present. Okay. And so when I stopped walking, he actually walked in front of me instead of hitting me. And he did not know what to do because that shouldn't have happened. It didn't compute to him. And this look of horror and terror entered his eyes. And he ran full speed into it was like a little store.
Right. So.
And then he hightails it. Yeah, he missed me. Yeah, he didn't hit me.
his view of it is he's walking straight towards you, and all of a sudden you're back a couple of steps, and he's gone in front of it.
Yeah.
It must have been, to him, it must have been like you jumped back, or...
I'm talking. This was a view of terror out of his eyes, like he had just witnessed something impossible.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's how he would have seen it.
Exactly. And then I do something goofy, which I don't know why I did, but I turned my head and traced him with my eyes, and then he's looking at me in terror, and I smiled at him. And then I kept walking on my way, and that was the end of that. And I was like, all right, there's something going on here. I mean, and it was almost like the other side was reintroducing themselves on a level that was more technical and something that I could go with, versus just shooting at a third-party voice to me, and that didn't work at all. So, regarding the voice, I forgot to mention, going back several years, when that voice happened, that stuff would continue to happen for many months, but I was so bothered by it, I blocked it, and I didn't want anything to do with it. And that's how I ended up going forward with life. However, that stuff obviously didn't quite last all these years. But so going forward from the Arizona thing, I actually relocated to Arizona that same year, and then I ended up joining a paranormal investigation company. It was a volunteer organization. And would you like to hear about? I have one story for this.
Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
We love stories.
So I was in this organization probably for 9 or 10 months. And I was only there to find out if there's any more truth to all this stuff. And so I'm in a group that does exactly what they show on television, but we all know television is staged. So I wanted to debunk or prove there's something here. And so at some point down the line, within a year, basically nothing happened for many, many months. All these investigations, nothing. I was ready to leave. And one night came, and we were investigating a house in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was like any other investigation. You have your camera setups, you have lots of people watching cameras, and 2 people wandering the house doing their thing. I was sitting on a bar stool in a house, and the other guy that I was with was sitting on a bar stool. We were facing each other. The lights are off. I'd canvassed the room behind him, and he did the same with whatever's behind me. And there was a Spanish-looking fireplace on the wall. And I don't know how long it took, but I literally watched a woman walk directly out of the fireplace at high speed, walk right past me on my right. And typically, most people will tell you that if you witness an apparition, it's going to be a peripheral type of vision. You won't be able to lock your eyes on it, but that didn't happen with me. My eyes tracked this thing coming out of the wall, direct vision to my right and beyond, and it disappeared behind me. The guy opposite me told me he saw the backside and I saw the front side.
Yeah, most people without abilities will see them through their peripheral vision. But, you come to my house, you'll see them face on all the time.
And I would only describe this as like a moving shadow apparition because it was very dark, very dense. There was some sort of self-illumination because I could make out the outline of the person. It looked like a heavy-set female, short. But it wasn't that I saw a human spirit that made me wonder what's going on here. That I accepted right away. It was the rate of speed that this person was moving that it was absolutely not normal.
Yeah.
The best way to describe it is when you travel in airports, they have these flat escalators that kind of shoot you through from terminal to terminal.
Yeah, I like them.
So if you walk against the flow, it looks like they're moving rapidly. You know what I'm talking about? That's exactly what it looked like for me. So that's the rate of speed that this thing was walking or moving. I can't say the legs were moving, but that's what it looked like to me.
Well, with shadow people, they do say that, I've got something in my kitchen that moves past the door at such a speed, and that's a dark shape as well. But, it's been there a long time, so I don't take no notice of it. It doesn't worry the dogs. But with shadow people, they do say that they're normally seen out the peripheral vision, like you say, and they move very, very fast. I've never known, besides the Hat Man and things like that actually stand in doorways looking at you. Every shadow person that I've ever experienced, they do shift at a faster pace than I could possibly or any human could possibly move.
Right.
In my estimation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Mark, has Mark ever seen a shadow person?
Not exactly. I saw one time a house my wife and I were living in at the time had some activity. It was kind of like a way station. In fact, we were just having a conversation about this the other day, talking about the experiences we've had in some of the houses we lived in. And in this one particular house, the house itself wasn't haunted, but I felt like it was like on some ley lines or a portal, because it felt like things were passing through. And one time I saw a shadow on the wall, like there was a person in the hallway and the hallway light was on, and like somebody had walked through the hallway and it cast a shadow on our bedroom wall. That's as close as I've gotten to seeing what I would term a shadow person. Otherwise, I've never seen anything full on, and I've never seen an apparition.
Well, you could come hang out here. I can make that happen.
I keep inviting them over here, if he wants to.
Or I could probably summon something up of your house if you want, but some people don't want that stuff.
Well, I don't want anything to stay. I have a guest coming in a few weeks, so of course I could stay with him then. Help keep him occupied.
Then you'd be at me to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But
all right, so moving along.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did I cut you off?
No, not at all. Go continue.
Okay, so shortly after that event, I actually left the group because I didn't see the point. And okay, it's real. I get it. That's all I set out to seek anyway. I mean, to find out if the thing was real, and there is something there. So I ended up leaving the group, and I ended up joining a psychic kind of a community group, and they did a lot of meetups. But the lady taught it so that people could understand what psychic work was, and I was just drawn to it because I was open to whatever, to experiencing new stuff. So during this class, they held like a workshop, and everybody was asked to bring in artifacts from history of their own personal families, and then everybody would lay it out on the table. And then you would get up and shift chairs, and you'd be in front of a new artifact. And so the idea was to pick it up and just see what happens. She was running a psychometry class, and basically I had never done this before, and I was curious. So I picked up a spoon, and I had some sort of it was a spoon with an embroidery on it that said USA on it, or US, I'm sorry. And so I kind of knew ahead of time it was a military spoon, but I had no idea what was going to happen. So I picked this thing up, and it was bizarre because even before I picked it up, it was as if the spoon was trying to communicate with me. I don't really know how to explain this. It's kind of like a sensation that you see somebody you know, and you're eager to say something to them, but this is a spoon. So I picked this thing up, and I shut my eyes, and I get literally transported to another place. And I didn't know what to expect. What I saw was a man with army fatigues on from like World War I or World War II, and kind of big and brown, bulky looking, typically what you would see in the movies, how they were dressed in combat. I see a rifle, a bayonet. I described the man from head to toe, literally kind of maybe shorter, maybe 5'8", 5'9", brown hair, stocky looking dude. And that was about it. Then it stopped. I opened my eyes, and they asked us to, explain what we found. When it came to my turn, I told them what I told you. And the lady had actually already journaled about the artifact that she brought in, the spoon. She said I was 100% accurate. She said it was from a long distant cousin who passed away in World War I. I might have said it was World War II, but she didn't care. She said you hit it perfectly.
Well, for those people, sorry about this, Daniel. For those people that don't know what psychometry is, it's reading the energy from an item. You know, I used to teach various things to people, and one of the things I did was psychometry, and I gave this girl once a piece of lava from Vesuvius. To her, it was just a funny little bit of looking stone with a few glinty bits in, but she absolutely hit on everything. She hit on the heat, the smoke, the screaming, the everything. She was describing Pompeii on the day that Vesuvius erupted. And it was absolutely brilliant.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Psychometry is a good way to get your psychic gifts, your psychic energy going. You know, just grab Granny's ring or something, or the next door neighbour's wedding ring, and see what you come out with. It's good. It's, you know, and it can be fun.
It's good when it works for people like you. I pick up a spoon and I'm going, okay, where's the peanut butter?
Yeah, but that's good that you got all that, Daniel.
No, it was amazing.
Yeah, that is very good.
The same group of people are the same people that identified me as the soul walk-in, just an FYI. So that's where we are in this time frame. Yeah. And that was a group of hypnotherapists and psychiatrists, and obviously they all have psychic abilities. The next part of this, we'll wrap up this hour, I think. I had a dream. So the Psychic 101 program was in 2008. In 2010, I had the craziest dream one of the craziest dreams I've ever had. And it showed me doing a posture over another person, not touching them. How it would be like a person on a massage table or a bed or something, and I'm standing above them doing a healing, but I didn't know what a healing was. And I mean, I had known kind of what Reiki was and all that stuff, but I wasn't into that stuff. So it showed me doing this, and I woke up from the dream with, what in the world was that? And that was really vivid. And I knew a Reiki master at the time from the same group, the psychic group. So I actually called her and I said, I just had the weirdest dream. And she's like, well, okay, bring it to the Reiki chair and let's see what this is about. And the Reiki chair is just an area for healers can practice on one another. So I go about a week later to this Reiki chair, and they told me to do exactly what the dream showed me doing. Mm-hmm. And I'd seen it in the dream from like a third person point of view. So there was a man on a massage table, just face up, just chilling out. And I put my hands above him about 2.5 feet away from him, and he lost it. He's like, oh my God, what are you doing? I said, nothing, putting my hands up here. And then the Reiki master, the lady, she's like, no, you're doing something. It doesn't matter if you don't know what you're doing right now, but you've got a gift. You've definitely got something going on there, and you're going to work on this gift for many years, and then something's going to come from this, because this is kind of an anomaly. It doesn't just happen. Yeah. Yeah, so it didn't hurt the man or anything, but he felt the energy shift in massive proportion on him, and that's why he reacted the way he did.
That's good. Very good.
And
so that's when you got into energy healing, yeah?
Well, that's the introductory I had gotten away from the psychic-y stuff to more into the energy healing stuff. And that's the lead-in for that stuff. But I'm not, so to speak, talking about that today. I'm just, yes, that was the lead-in for the energy work that I ended up doing today. And I don't know if you want me to go into any details about that stuff. I don't typically talk about the work.
No, carry on with your story.
Well, that's fine. The next bit of this would have to do with more about paranormal stuff, because a lot of the everything seems to happen at the same time. Paranormal experiences will happen at the same time as the energy, because law of attraction, regardless of what you're doing, you're still asking for more law of attraction to come in.
Yeah.
But the the energy work after the dream state, I ended up working on the person I was living with most of the time, and she would complain that she had a headache or a migraine, and I could do the posture I did over her, and the migraine would reduce to a headache, a mild headache, within a few minutes, versus somebody to take medication to wait an hour for it to kick in. And things would progress to working on people who were complaining of all these pains in the body, but what I realized what was happening, it was more energetic disconnects in the body than physical problems. So when I did the exact same posture again, I learned that if I set my intention for something to happen, there would be an cause and effect. So something would actually happen from it, and very quickly. So I started with the whole pain healing stuff, and then it just kind of blew up from there. And it's been going for years now, and it's great. So,
Daniel?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's continue. So I wanted to kind of go away from energy healing work, and I wanted to bring up a lot of experiences that I've had personally, and regarding the paranormal. And when I say the paranormal, I know this is an umbrella term, but typically for me, paranormal doesn't mean spirits all the time. It can be everything. It can be interdimensional stuff. It can be discussions about extraterrestrials. It can be talking about craft that people witness. It can be a lot of things. So, but however, regarding the spirits and shadow people, I wanted to raise a note that when I was young, I don't know, it was in the early 1970s, so I don't know, I was probably 5 or 6 years old. My parents, I was originally from New York, but for whatever reason, I had found myself living in Connecticut for a year. And my parents had rented an apartment. I think it was in the New Haven area. And one night came, and me and my brother had shared a room. It was a really big room with 2 beds. And one night came, and my parents had gone out for the night, and there was a babysitter in the other room. And I remember staring at the hallway, and there was a light on in the hallway on the floor, kind of one of those things that plug into a receptacle. And for some reason, I kept finding myself staring at the hallway, at the light. And then the next thing I realized is I thought I saw a person walk past, but the person didn't look like a human. It looked like another shadow. And then another person walked past the room, and then another one, and then another one, to the point it was a crowd of people walking. This scared the crap out of me. You're talking a 5 or 6 year old not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
I went underneath the blanket, underneath the not the blanket, but a sheet, because I could see through the sheet as you do.
Yeah.
I couldn't see through the blanket. And I saw a parade of people. There's no noise at all, but it definitely looked like groups of people walking past.
And all along the same route, down the hallway.
Down the hallway. Nobody actually. I thought people were going to come in the bedroom. That's why I went under the covers. But
maybe they were moving through a ley line. Yeah.
It could have been a lot of things, but I was freaked out. My brother was sound asleep because the other person never wakes up.
No, that's true.
And that was about it. All I saw was this shadow thing it happens, and I don't get it. I've never understood it. Even knowing about what I know today, I really don't see shadow people anymore. It's only during certain experiences. Maybe it's a location thing. I'm not sure.
And nobody really knows what shadow people are. Are they spirits? Are a type of spirit? Are they visitors from another dimension? Nobody really knows.
My assumption, and there's no way to prove it, but I think it's literally is we have shadows coming off us from the light. Why couldn't they? We just happen to see it through it's like a dimensional shift.
Maybe
some sort of dimensional shift. No, and it's good fun conversation, but at the same time, it happens. So
yeah. So that must have been pretty terrifying for you.
I don't remember. At the time, yes.
You just remember the event.
I just have a memory of the event, pulling the sheet over my head and freaking out, saying, "Please don't come in here! Please don't come in here!" Blah blah blah. And nothing actually happened, other than a strange visual. That's it.
Was that the only childhood experience that you had as a child?
Shit. No, I mean, I can get into this later if there's time, but I remember being in a house in New York, and it was a 2-story house, and my bedroom was upstairs, and I hated the closet. Hated it. I knew the thing was haunted. And my parents in the 80s, I don't say anything bad about my parents, but they took me to see Poltergeist in the 1980s. This is not something you should ever do. Ever.
No, not with a child, no.
What did it? Yeah, what
no, I was a teenager and that movie scared the crap out of me.
It scared the crap out of everybody, every adult. I remember being in the theater. My dad jumped out of his seat. It was just absolutely crazy. It's a great movie. To watch it as an adult now, looking back, I think it's comical. But because most of the stuff you see in movies is fake. But at the time, as a child, everything's real.
Yeah, but this all stems back to the boogeyman who lives in the cupboard, who lives under the bed, and things like that,
Yeah, exactly.
And, of course, they brought it out well in the movie, but with the little girl being dragged in there. But even now, today, it is an eerie place, a cupboard. Let's face it.
So one of the characters in that movie was a clown, if you remember the movie at all. What do you think was in my room?
What,
why do explain to me why grandmothers buy their grandchildren clowns. I don't know anybody that likes clowns.
But you know what? To be fair, back in the 80s, nobody or very few people really had that fear of clowns. It didn't become part of our culture to have all these scary clowns like we've had in the last 10, 15 years. So Poltergeist, I think, was one of the first that really did it with that clown, the way it came alive, scaring the crap out of everybody. But, before that, to me, I always thought clowns were creepy, but never to the extent that now that media has made it out to be.
Or It. My wife hates clowns. She's scared of It.
Oh, I don't like that film, It. I really don't like that film, It. But I'm not scared of clowns. I even as a child, I found them boring. We used to go to the circus and they'd be doing their thing, throwing buckets and paper on each other and pretending it's water. And I used to think you're stupid. I never laughed.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't. They were just weird.
So that was the only thing that happened back then. It was creepy. So going forward,
yeah,
I want to tell you about several experiences that I had with. We're not talking about spirits here anymore. Just the strange, just stuff that's happened that makes absolutely no sense. It's absolutely crazy, but it's real.
Yeah.
So in 2010, I was outside, and we get a lot of different types of clouds in Arizona with the weather systems. This is crazy. I was in like what we consider Mesa, Arizona. It's kind of out in the desert away from Phoenix. I saw the Starship Enterprise inverted and cloud-based.
Well, I can totally believe that because a lot of UFOs use clouds or create clouds around themselves. According to, if you listen to a lot of air shows, I listen to other radio hosts every now and then talking about things like this when they're doing UFO shows. I'm right, aren't I, Mark?
Oh, yes, you're right occasionally.
I'm always right.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely they've been known to mass themselves in clouds. They've also been known to change shapes or even, use what I would call holographic projections to try to disguise themselves or to even convey a message.
So this starship thing that you saw obviously was either some sort of mothership, and it's
if you remember Star Trek, the Starship Enterprise,
Yeah.
if you remember what it looked like, I swear to goodness, it looked the same thing, but the only difference was it was upside down. So the skis were up top.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if the producers of Star Trek actually knew something back in the day, but to make it not exact, they just rotated the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. And there's no way to prove it. It's just, it is what it is, and it was stationary. It wasn't moving around or anything.
Yeah.
And it was an extremely strange cloud. I was driving, and for some reason I noticed when paranormal activity happens, not all the time, but cloud stuff, a lot of the stuff, it's when you can't get out of the car. It'll happen.
Or you're in an airplane.
Well, that's happened too. That's another story. That's actually in line. I didn't list it on the paper, but it doesn't matter. I was flying from Chicago to Phoenix many years ago, and I was bored, and I had a window seat, and there was clouds everywhere on the left side of the plane. And I said, hey, what the heck? I taught myself a while ago how to cloudburst. I don't know if anybody knows about this phenomenon, but anybody can do this. It's been featured in The Men That Stare at Goats and several other movies and TV shows. Yeah. But you can literally stare at a cloud and just say an intention like melt, 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 or burst, 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 then look away, then look back, then look away, and that thing will just disappear. It won't be like a poof and it's gone. It'll look like it's collapsing. It's very strange. It's a phenomenon, but it's real. And you guys could go outside and do it if you have the right sort of clouds.
Well, the only clouds we get here are rain clouds, and if I start cloud bursting, we're going to get more and more bloody rain, I tell you. Now, you're in the airplane.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not flying. I was a passenger.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a pilot or anything.
Yeah,
well, technically I am, but that's another story.
Yeah.
So I was a passenger. I see the cloud that I want to go after, and I burst the thing. It's not a poof now. It's a collapse. But then something happens. There's something in the cloud. It's not that I saw a cloud ship and I was trying to collapse it. I saw this cloud. I melted it to the blue sky, but what I thought was going to be blue sky, there was an object in that cloud. And then I saw it for a fraction of a second, and then it was gone. Yeah. And it didn't look like your saucer-shaped craft. It actually looked like a mess. It looked like it was all different square and rectangle shapes, kind of like a Rubik's Cube, or let's just say multiple Rubik's Cubes, but not all evenly aligned. They're kind of a mess all over each other. And I was taken back. I was like, holy cow, what was that? It was only there for a second. But what should have been blue sky, there was another object within the cloud. Absolutely surreal.
So we've got a load of aliens up there at that particular point in their ship, just about to configure their ship to the way they want it, and you go burst their cloud. They're not going to be happy, are they? They're not.
Nobody actually said this to me ever in my life. Most people don't say anything. You're the only person that spoke up. We know how that goes.
They're running around the ship going, Bob, somebody's screwing with our cloud cover.
Yeah, I basically blew up their camouflage there.
Yeah, you did. You actually did, yeah. And we do things like this when, Mark, it's true. We do silly things like you're doing your cloud bursting to keep yourself occupied in an aeroplane. The things I've got up to before now is unbelievable. I love to make people pick their noses or turn around when they shouldn't be turning,
Yeah, it just got weird in here.
No, I do. If I'm sitting there bored and somebody's sitting there and everything, I'll make him hook a bogey out. And then he looks, and then he kind of looks as if, what made me do that?
And I thought I was weird.
People, read my book, The Psychic Spy. You'll see what I could do to people on trains when I was bored.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah, going into London, I used to do all sorts of things, make them scratch their nose. I made a bloke get off at a platform. He got on. I made him get off the train at a platform that he didn't want. He stood on the platform, turned around, looked totally gobsmacked, didn't know what had happened, got back on the train again, sat back down with a red face.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to hear another one, another weird one?
Yeah, go on.
All right. So this time I'm driving on a street in Phoenix, and I passed this guy, and I was like, "Did I just see that?" It was broad daylight, and he's wearing a strange robe. It's a man, and he's strange. I guess it's a man, or somebody appearance of a man.
Mm.
He's wearing a strange robe. He's got a fake, look like a giant fake Halloween wig on, black hair or a black wig. But that's not the problem that bothered me. The problem is he didn't have a nose. He had two poke holes, P-O-K-E holes.
Yeah.
And his mouth wasn't shaped right. It was like where a normal human's lips would be. They seemed to extend all the way up to his ears. And I was like, what the heck was that? It looked like a walking turtle head or a walking snake head. And I was like,
like some sort of reptilian.
Don't want to go there, but yeah. I mean, it was like, did I just really see that? So the face, but what I actually started to wonder was maybe I saw his true identity, and he may be an appearance of a regular human to everybody else.
Yeah.
But remember, it's me.
Mm.
So when I see things with psychic third eye, and it seems to be random, it's not on purpose, it's random. When this stuff happens, and I was
you
like,
saw,
okay.
you saw him as he really was.
I saw his true identity versus the, if you've ever seen that movie, what is it? They Live, where they wear sunglasses to see the true identity of a person.
You mean that?
That's one of Mark's favorite movies.
Yeah, that's my favorite documentary.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie just by a movie, but then the realistic stuff behind everything is like, whoa.
Yeah, that's why I call it a documentary. They had no idea at the time when they were making it, how right they were.
Yeah, or maybe they did and they played it off.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's jump a little bit and shake this up a bit. So I was living in another apartment in Phoenix, and this is crazy.
Well, okay. Before we go to that, Daniel, real quick, you saw this figure standing there. What else happened with it? Did it just vanish?
No, nothing.
Nothing.
I was driving.
Oh, you were
driving. He was walking on the sidewalk upright, and as a human does, and I drove past him like no big deal, but I couldn't get over I locked eyes on him, and I was like, what is that? It makes no sense. Half of me wanted to turn around and go and investigate, but then the other half said, let it go.
You wanted to get the hell out of Dodge.
It's nice to look at things from a distance and not want to, because, I don't know the ramifications of that.
Well, it's not always your place to interfere,
Exactly.
With me, if I'd seen that, the first thing that would have come into my head, fashion disaster. That would have been the first words that come into my head, but then that's me. I've been at this for over 60 years. So, but...
So you're a newbie at this. I got you. Okay.
Oh, no, yeah. So, right, now where are we?
Mark, are we good?
I love these stories.
See? I had to stop.
I absolutely love these stories because these are what we want to hear. We want to hear these sort of things.
I got lots of them, but I had to pick out the best ones for a program like this.
Yeah.
But so we got the time. I'm just going to go down the list. There are some highlight ones that really, really have to get to, but if we don't have a time restriction, Mark, you're in charge of that.
No,
so
we got 45 minutes left, so let's crank it out.
We're gonna time travel here, though. The more I talk, the more time flies. So, anyways, let's do this. So I'm in a bedroom. I went to sleep one night, and my girlfriend's in the other side of the bed. I'm on the left. She's on the right. Something woke me up in the middle of the night, and then I realized there's a light beam coming from. I thought it was my girlfriend's phone. I mean, she denies this whole incident actually happened, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me, why is my girlfriend wandering around the room in the middle of the night? She should be sleeping. And why is the phone light on? So I actually followed the beam of light, and it hit the floor, but then for some reason it went up on the wall. It went through the wall. I'm like, what? I was waiting for it to splatter against the wall, but it didn't. It went through the wall, and I'm looking at the wall, and the wall is missing.
This to me
There is no wall.
This to me sounds like some sort of alien encounter again.
Well, we're heading that way. So hang on. So I didn't sit up in bed, but I kind of looked. When you're in the moment, you don't do the common sense stuff like get up and look. You don't do that. So I just kind of looked with my eyes, and I saw piping. But there's a wall. There's supposed to be a wall right there. You're not supposed to see pipes. I saw piping, and it looked like there was a giant room through the pipes, almost like a hangar, to be honest. And I've been in many hangars from airplanes. And that's what it looked like. And then I blacked out, woke up the next day. I asked my girlfriend about it. She never said she got up. And I was like, that's strange.
Now, that answers to me a lot of things about people when they talk about being abducted, being taken through the wall or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you were able to see with your psychic eye something that many, many people cannot see because they're put into a deep sleep. Their stories are that they're in a deep sleep and they're taken, you know?
Yeah.
Were they coming to get you? And, of course, you waking up, seeing all that, that messed their plans up, didn't it?
So there's 3 events that happened in the same week. That was event number 1.
Yeah.
So event number 2, the next night, I go to bed. Again, I get woken up in the middle of the night. But this time, this is the strangest thing. This makes me question dream state. This makes me question what sleeping and semi-sleep means.
Yeah.
I remember saying the words, but I don't remember seeing anything. I ended up waking my girlfriend up out of a dead sleep, and I asked her, where's the bathroom? Now, normally I would just it's usually in the same room you're in. It's usually in the corner. But I remember saying, where's the bathroom, over and over and over again. And she's like, it's in a corner of the room. And she's angry because she got woken up. And I asked her, where's the corner of the room? And she didn't even know what to say to me. And then it was as if I was awake but still asleep. And because I don't have any visual memory of this, it's as if I was in a circle room.
Yeah.
That should be another lead for another 3,000 questions. I ended up just blacking out, waking up the next day, and that was the end of it. Very strange experience, but the third strange will top the cake on both of the other 2. Third night comes. Now I'm at the point I'm just expecting stuff to happen.
Are these 3 nights running consecutively?
Yes, back to back.
Yeah.
3 in a row, and this is back in 2011. And I go to bed praying that nothing will happen. I go to sleep, and then the end of the world starts. I get woken up, but it's not with the same sort of stuff. This actually woke me up all the way. But before I opened my eyes, I had a sensation that it wasn't just me and my girlfriend in the room. I had a sensation there was a trespasser or something in the room with us. I didn't have a dog back then. I actually had the sensation that a person was standing directly next to the bed. And this kind of got my attention. And I opened my eyes. I'm like, screw it. Let's just get this on. I don't know what this is. And it was if somebody turned the dip switch off for my emotions. So I couldn't even get angry, upset, scared, nothing. I opened my eyes, and there's a man standing to my left. But something was really off. He didn't feel human. He was standing upright like a human does. And this is crazy. If you remember the movie Star Wars, the stormtroopers would wear the white outfit, white armor. This was the exact same thing, except it wasn't white; it was black. And I remember looking at his legs, and they seemed to be plated with armor. And then something else caught my attention. There was a weapon on his left side waist, and it was a weapon that went from where the waist would be all the way down to his left knee. It was holstered. I could not describe it any more than it looked futuristic. And it seemed to be like it wasn't a holster that a human would wear, like from the military, our military. It seemed on his left side thigh where this suit of armor is, it was half in the armor. It was like enclosed within, but you're still very visible on the other half.
Yeah.
He never pulled it out or anything. And I remember looking up at his face. I couldn't see his face. It was too dark. I couldn't even tell why I was able to see him. It was almost like something was also illuminating just him, but nothing in the room was illuminated.
And you weren't able to move, talk, or anything like that?
It was as if I didn't care. I don't know. There was absolutely no panic, no negativity whatsoever in this room. And I was just taken in awe, like, I'm being visited by aliens. And I don't know. I don't get it. I can't prove it's an alien right now, but I'm like,
it sounds that way.
It was surreal. So I'm trying to figure out what am I supposed to do here, because I'm awake. And I'm like, the only thing that actually made sense was put your hand up like you got to do a healing, because this is all in that same timeline. So I raised my right hand, and I saw the top of his head, but no, you couldn't see his face type of thing. I could just see where the top is, and it was as if he was wearing some sort of face mask. And he gave me a forward head nod, like, yeah, that's it. I'm like, all right. And then within 1 second later, and this whole thing lasted about 30 seconds, by the way. It looked as if he actually merged through me. His face and his body seemed to shrink, as if this was an interdimensional visit. And it went through me, and then it was gone, and I blacked out and woke up the next day. And I was like, that was the coolest thing I've ever experienced. So that was the third event for that week.
Yeah, it certainly does sound like alien visitation.
I just sent you both a photo, because what you were describing like a black stormtrooper, they actually had something like that in one of the recent movies. What you were describing sounded just like that.
Yeah, I see your photograph. It's possible. I don't know.
I'll have a look at it later. Yeah. So, no, it certainly does sound to me. They do take a special interest in people like us.
So I'm gonna skip some events, and then if there's time at the end, I'll circle back. But I need to get to some of these things that are more they have more gravity here. I need to skip to. So I was visiting a friend in an area of Phoenix. And it's an area I'm not. She's asked me not to talk about her at all. My friend is a witness to this event as well. Yeah. She doesn't want any attention. This happened in 2015, and it's absolutely not scary. But if you've had some sort of abduction experience in your childhood, anything can scare you. So I was visiting her. She lives on a horse property, so this is a very large property, and I was up there, and she had, at that moment, asked me to come. This is the summer of 2015. It's over 100 degrees here. It's really hot. It was blue sky. I just have to say these attributes because it has to do with the story. We were in her backyard, but near her patio, she was trying to show me a garden that she was trying to plant. And, excuse me, and something caught my attention in her property. Yeah. And I couldn't break from it. And she was trying to talk to me, and it came off as rude. And she's like, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. I'm looking at something above your property line. It was almost like a hovering object. It wasn't an object, though. It looked like a checkerboarded flag that could have been a geometric type design. I don't know for sure. And it was just sitting about 3 feet above her ground. And her ground consists of desert landscape. There's really nothing going on, just dirt, basically. And I said, I've got to go check this out. And she has no idea what I'm talking about. I walk out into the dirt, and as soon as I got to where I thought I saw this thing, it disappears. I was like, great, now what? So I say to myself, because I work with energy, and I have these psychic abilities, I'm like, what the heck? I start slowly kind of waving my right hand, not upright, but out ahead of me, trying to feel for any sort of energy anomaly, anything. And then it hits me, not mentally, literally, energy blasts me. I am literally sensing with my hand chakras, I'm feeling some sort of energy field or energy force just over and over again. This pulsating comes out of the air. And I'm like, I freak out. I was like in love with it. I was like, this is awesome. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but this is great. And it seemed that if I took my right hand, I pushed, the closer I got to whatever the sensation was, it would get more and more intense. like it's almost a defensive mechanism. And I called my friend. I said, you got to come feel this. And she works with Reiki as well.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know if you're going to feel it, but she didn't know what I was talking about. She thought I was pulling her leg. She walks out where I am. I have her stand exactly where I was just standing. She has long hair. Her hair went backwards like a movie, like somebody turned on a fan. And her hair blows backwards. And she's like, she starts talking to herself. She's like, I'm standing right here. I'm like, yep, somebody's having a panic attack. And that's exactly what it ended up. I don't know. She was going through whatever internal. And I was like, is this not the most amazing thing? She's like, what is it? I guess it's a craft. I don't know. I don't see any windows. I can't see it. I can just feel it. And I said, let's find out how big this is. And then she looks at me like I'm crazy. Like, we can't see this thing. How are you going to figure out how big it is? I'm like, watch this. So I just took my hand. If I could touch it with my hand, I figured if I walked in one direction, I would just see how long I could sense this sensation for. And it went the entire length of her property, which could be several hundred, probably a couple hundred feet, to be honest, in one direction.
Wow.
Yeah, it was enormous. And then I traced it another direction. It was all still there. And it wasn't in my face. It seemed to be kind of just above my head level. I stand about 6 feet and change. But so it was all there. And I'm like, this is awesome. She panics, though. She's a lot older than I was at the time. And she breaks out and goes into her house. And I hang out. I was like, this is awesome. This is like this is like one of those experiences you'll never have again.
Yeah.
So you need to just enjoy it for the moment.
So you carried on feeling it.
Yeah, I walked back to her patio, but then something else happened.
Yeah.
I bet you can figure out what's next. So over the time, I got to pause on that moment for a second. I had figured out how to use my aura ear to hear things and all that. I don't talk about this stuff because I don't do it as a service. I only do it for myself for personal growth. And that would be the mediumship stuff. But I don't do this stuff. I just have the ability. I heard somebody say my name, and it was a strange voice. And I said, somebody there. And they said, blah, blah. This is my name, basically. And it was a masculine voice that did not sound human at all. It sounded almost synthesized. I'm like, oh, God, here we go. And I was expecting the worst case scenario, but he told me his name. His name, I'll spell it, Zout, Zoit. I don't know. It's a very strange name.
And were you sweet? Yeah.
Zoit.
Yeah. You weren't able to see this being?
No, there's no visual whatsoever. It's audible again. And I'm like, is this a craft? And he said, yes. And I said, is this Palladian? Now, there's no out loud conversation here. It's all in my mind. And he said it's Palladium based. And I didn't even know what Palladium meant at the time. And I said, okay, look, maybe we can talk later type of thing. I'm trying to kind of digest what the heck is going on in front of me. He's like, we'd like to invite you on board. He didn't use those words. I can't remember the exact words that he used, but it was basically like, we want you to come on board.
Yeah.
And I said,
Did he sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger going, get your ass to Mars?
No, it was unbelievably calming. And at no time did his voice, like if this was some sort of gag, it never happened. And I said, my problem is I don't even get in a car with a stranger. Why would I attempt to get on a craft? I can't see you. You're a stranger. No offense, but it is what it is. I'm just not going to do that. And they said, we absolutely understand, but this is something that absolutely has to happen. And we would like you to come on board. And I said to myself, this is, again, another once-in-a-lifetime opportunity thing. And I've already had one of those today at the same time. I'm like, whatever. Okay, it's not like it tried to hurt me when I touched it. So, what can anything negative come out of this? I'm like, you know what, whatever. Let's just do this. And I go to get up, and then my friend comes out of her house. She's like, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. I said, if I disappear, find a psychic and find my girlfriend and make them find out where the heck I have gone to. And she's like, all right. So I asked this voice, I'm like, dude, where's the door? I can't see it. And he's like, I will direct you. I go along with it. I'm totally a skeptic right now. I've got just the unknown about to happen in front of me. He directs me to walk to the furthest most wall. I do. I feel the pulsating going along the wall. Yeah. And I'm about to smack into the cement wall, and he tells me to stop. He tells me to turn right. I do. He says, now walk forward. And we're kind of walking. It was as I was being directed through a maze of stuff. And then he tells me to stop. Now you're directly in front of our entrance. All I see is the backyard. That is it. And there's absolutely no sensations. Then this happens. I step 2 steps forward. Do you remember that screen thing I told you a while ago about? I was in the mall. Well, it was similar to that, but it wasn't the same thing. So it was as if my vision split screened. And I could see the ground and everything on the right side, but on the left side, and it's not like I gained eyeballs. It was as if the line of sight that I saw split in half. And it was almost you can compare this to a large screen monitor on your desk. Put up 2 different internet screens, left and right, your browsers. You can see them simultaneously, but they're 2 different screens. Same thing with my vision. I got the ground on the right. On the left side, I walked into a black room. And this time, there was a visual. Nothing happened in this room. It was completely calm. There was no person in there, no alien, just a dark, dark room. And I noticed the temperature went from about 100 to about 70 in a split second. And it was unbelievably comfortable. And I know personally, I love cold, dark rooms to sleep in. That's me. Yeah. I love it. And it was really comfortable. And actually nothing happened. It was just a room. And I said, it looked as if there was a hallway that was dark ahead of me. But I said to myself, I'm good. I feel like I've actually been here before. And a voice came out and said, you have. And earlier in the years, I had trained myself how to do deep meditation. And I've gone on ships. I've gone on vessels that are definitely not of this planet. And I've seen these rooms before. So it was completely fine and comfortable. I didn't have anything to learn there. I said, I'm going to back up now. And when I backed up, the black room disappeared and I was back on the normal vision. And I was like, that's a trip. I don't know what this was, but this was awesome.
So your friend, did she actually witness this? Did she see you disappear or whatever?
She said I never left the ground. But that's normal because what I realized what happened is...
It was your consciousness that went...
No. It wasn't conscious. I went light body. When you go light body, as you do when you go to sleep, you can astral travel. You can do a lot of things. No, she said I never left. She said, well, there was one thing that she did say that's totally strange. She said you stood motionless as if you were in a coma. There was nothing going on. I was like, that's crazy. But look, I had the experience. I backed out. I got myself back to the house, and I ended up taking off from there. But that was it. And I was like, that is a mind-boggling experience. Can I say I was on an ET craft? Absolutely not. But what I can say is I believe I was in some sort of interdimensional space.
Yeah. Well, all these sort of things, they're all learning events, aren't they? It's obviously taught you something, even if you're not aware of what it's taught you at the moment.
Exactly. Just trying to go through some of these experiences. Here's another crazy one. This is not on the list. It's an add-in, but you'll love it. So, are you familiar with the Superstition Mountains?
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes, I am.
Superstition Mountains. That's a mountain range here in Arizona, and it's in the Apache Junction area.
No, I don't know.
Superstition because there's a lot of weird stuff that happens there. But... Right. So
it's also sacred to the. I think it's to the Apache.
Yeah,
is it?
It's in an area called Apache Junction. It's all mountains. So I've known a woman there for years that had lived at the base of the property, at the base of the mountains, and we were out there one night. She had a group gathering there, as she does, and so her backyard is a cactus farm that leads to the foothills of the mountains. And it is what it is. So we're there at nighttime, And something that grabbed my attention, I separated from the group. I'd walked down this short path and turned, and I was like, all right, you got me here. And I have no idea what it is that brought me over there. It wasn't that far from the other people. And I suddenly sensed that, well, for starters, the atmosphere, it was kind of cool that night. And I had sensed when I got over there, something heat level turned on around me. And then it turned off. And then it turned on. And then it turned off. And I'm like, what is going on here? It was just this back and forth thing. And I'm like, is there something breathing on me? And yes, that's exactly what's going on here. And I said, well, show me yourself. I mean, what? I shut my eyes for a half a second, and then I saw it. And I'm like, holy cow. What the heck is that? I saw about an 8-foot, this is going to sound weird, but it's the only description I can give it. It was like a hybrid crab/ant.
Oh, what are they called, Mark? Oh, praying mantis type thing.
Well, I don't know about a praying mantis, but because it had a big body to it, it literally looked like an ant crab. It had the hands of a crab and the body of an ant, but it was big. Yeah. And it was right over my head. And then another member of the group came over, and he's like, yeah, what's going on over here? He's like, why is it so warm over here? And I'm just like, yeah, you don't even want to know. That was it. It was like a really gentle experience. But there's certain attributes for every experience that have to be present.
Yeah.
But so that was like that was a very lighter experience than the prior.
What color was that?
Say again?
What color was it?
The bean? I don't remember it having a color because it was at night. So I just remember it was dark. It was dark.
Dark shape.
Yeah, well, yeah, dark. Well, the whole shape of it was dark, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so going on from that, here's another. Here's a scary experience. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I'm just going to switch this whole thing up. So I'm a big mountain guy, like hiker type of person. We have mountains all over Phoenix and all over Arizona here. And so I'm the night before I went on this hike, I don't know why I do half the things I do. I had watched the documentary about the Los Angeles crypt. So
no, I don't know this.
So you
may have to explain that bit.
So a crypt is where all the bodies go for what is it when they do autopsies? So the morgue, but it's not a hospital; it's separate. So I had watched some goofy documentary about a crypt, and I had seen, the cadavers. So I'm on the trail, and that was all. Just keep that in memory for a second. So I'm on a mountain trail, and it's really not far from civilization at all. I mean, the parking lot's just over the hill, and I'm walking back toward the parking lot. And I'm on a trail, and here there's not trees around me. It's basically open. You're just on an open path. Yeah. And I see a guy, and this shouldn't be anything new. You see another person walking at you. It happens. I mean, you're on a public trail, but it's on I guess it's a state park trail. And the guy didn't look right to me. He, this is current time, so this is like 2015-ish, and he was dressed strange. He looked like one of these bad bikers from like I don't know, like the movie Roadhouse or something goth. It didn't look right. You're not supposed to be hiking.
Hell's Angel.
Well, yeah, like that.
Sons of Anarchy.
What's that?
Sorry, Mark.
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah,
TV show.
Yeah, but it was more darker than that. I mean, it looked like a biker. But you don't go hiking in biker gear. You just don't do it. It's not good practice.
Not
anyway,
in Arizona.
So this guy, exactly. So I'm walking down this trail, and he's getting closer, and I'm getting closer because it's obvious he's going to pass me. And he gets about 30 feet from me, and I start getting adrenaline boosts. I'm like, oh, no. Something starts firing up. I feel my solar plex go haywire. And solar plex is a chakra in your belly. And it starts going haywire. And I'm like, something's going to happen here. That's obvious because things are like woken up, kind of like the experience in that mall when that man was approaching. Same thing. All the chakras are lighting up and going firing crazy. Like, hey, you got to react here. I get within a shoulder distance from him. And I'm like, that's odd. His eyes are bloodshot red. I mean, red. And his skin is bright yellow. And I'm like,
Count Dracula.
No. The guy that I saw in that documentary was standing next to me. The deceased body. And I'm like, holy effing, I mean, what the freak? I'm like, I need to get out of here like we're pronto.
Well,
you know, even if it wasn't the guy from the TV show that was laying on the table dead, there's something not right here. I got to get out of here. You don't.
It's like
this guy look. You know.
It's like a memory thing. You know, you've got the memory of what you've seen in the documentary. It's like this being has taken that memory and disguised himself as that memory.
It was something. So basically, if you know red eyes and yellow skin means organ failure, okay?
Yeah.
That matched whatever the hell that thing was I saw on television. So I start picking up the pace. At this time, my adrenaline is cranking, and I'm like, oh, God, here we go. And, you know, if you felt real adrenaline, my feet felt like I was like cement shoes, literally. It felt like everything got really heavy. I'm like, and I'm powering through this. And I've only got, you know, another 50 feet till I break out of the trail, and there's the parking lot. And that's exactly what happened. But as I powered through him, I had the sensation that he turned around and he's following me. So I do a quick left look back, and sure enough, he's following me. He's walking really slow, though.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what was going to happen. All I said was, I have to get through this. And I felt like there was a force actually trying to pull me back into the path. I couldn't explain that. It's just strange. It feels like some sort of artificial gravity was trying to tug me back. But I powered through it, got out, and there's my car. I get up to where the car is, and I said to myself, now I have a choice. I can either get in the car and leave, or I can turn around and deal with this. So I said, screw this. I'm not going to run away because then I'll never know. So I said, screw this. Never even opened the car door. I turned around near my car, and there's this crazy guy. He pops out and he stops. He doesn't actually leave the trail. He actually turns back and goes back into the trail. And there was granted, there's no trees, but we have a lot of shrubs and they get up high and all that. It was weird. He went back to the trail and he disappeared. I couldn't find the guy. I actually went back in a little bit to see if he had, for a second I said, maybe he's sick, injured or something and didn't know how to ask for help. So I actually walked back in. I calmed myself down, walked back in, he's gone. And you could see a distance, and not enough time had gone by for him to really got far, far away. This guy had disappeared. I mean, gone. So to add to this story, I had actually gone back to this trail. I went back home for about a week. I didn't go hiking on this trail just because I didn't know what the heck to make of it. I went back the next week to the same trail and tried to retrace all the steps and where the interaction was. You want to know a funny thing? It was if the trail itself had changed or really wasn't there. It was almost like I started to wonder, well, could I have actually stepped into another dimension and I was in his dimension versus him being in my dimension? Because the trail itself was not quite the right shape. When I had seen him, he was coming straight at me. The actual trail today winds. There is no straightaway. I mean, there's a straightaway section, but it wasn't in the right area. And I was like, there's a possibility that about 150 foot of this trail was somewhere else. And it's just one of these WTF moments. It's like, I have to wonder that could I have actually gone into another dimension, and when I was exiting it, it was trying to pull me back into it.
It's very, very possible. Very possible. Don't you think, Mark?
I've heard stories very similar to this, people having, experiences where I know that I've read about some UFO cases or high strangeness cases where people like they stop at a little diner or a restaurant that's on this corner after having a strange experience, and then they go back the next day and there's no diner, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's quite a few of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is. I'm going to be thinking about that one tonight, I think.
Don't have nightmares.
I don't get them.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to talk about one more event, which probably will wrap this whole thing up. But let's talk.
Just a minute, Daniel. How long have we got, Mark?
15 minutes.
Okay.
A little less.
Just trying to decide which one to go with. So I had trained myself in deep meditation years earlier. Like I had gone to a meditation class and they said it was filled with energy, and I utilized the energy to accentuate the experience.
Yeah, I listened on your website. Actually, you've got some very good medication films.
Medication or meditation?
Just me again. I told you about these long words, didn't I? These you've got a few.
Could be medication if you.
How to do meditation, breathing, and things like that on your website, which was very good. I found them very interesting today. So, people later on, if you'd like to pop along to the website, you'll be able to pick up and learn quite a lot from that. Okay, carry on.
So I just want to describe one more experience that was done in deep meditation that's just crazy. So in deep meditation, I can astral travel. I can move myself in, light body from one location to another in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And this is something that people can do on a very gentle level. They can go visit other countries and they can visit things. They can go underwater and not worry about scuba diving and breathing and all that stuff. It's fine. So I wanted to see, this is another kind of like low experience, but I wanted to see what the big hubbub is about the moon. I want to see, can I actually go to the moon?
Okay.
And then can I go to the backside of the moon where all the conspiracy is? I wanted to see if this was even possible or if it was just going to be a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
So I got myself into deep meditation and I set my intention. I also stated that I wanted an escort with me that were my guides. And they said, yep, we're always with you. Don't worry about that. And I wanted to go to the backside and see what was there. And I have other stories about the moon, but because of time, I'm just going to do this one and we'll just see what's what. So I actually meditated, got myself to another location. When I opened my eyes, I didn't see the moon. I saw what was looking like an office building, like I was in an office. And I'm like, well, it's a start. Let's go see where we are on the outside. And I figured out I was in the basement of some office, and I found stairs going up. I found an exit, and I exit doors. And then I see what I would assume is the lunar surface. I see a big gray, silvery, kind of granular surface. And then I see two characters. They were definitely not human, but they were standing upright like humans do. And they had the same face. It was really weird. It looked like a clown face.
Well, they had identical faces.
Yes, they had mirrored faces, and they didn't use their mouths to talk. They used some sort of telepathic voice.
Yeah, yes.
And,
they always do that. They're a pain. Yeah.
So they told me, and my guides translated and all that stuff, that we're going to take you what you want to see. And I said, okay. And they had some sort of transport. It didn't have any wheels, but it had a seat. So I just did the obvious and sat on this thing and held on. And they sit in the thing and it takes off. And it looked like a golf cart without wheels. I don't know, to just throw a reference there. And it takes off, and we're like traveling along what I look like some sort of transparent tube, TUBE tube. Yeah. And it leaves, the lunar surface isn't obviously all flat. We seem to dive down into a crater, and there's a wall to the crater, and it looks like there's an opening ahead, and we shoot through. And this is a few minutes, and when you're in deep meditation, time doesn't really exist. We go through this opening, and then the whole thing, the craft I'm on stops. And they said, you can step off. And I'm in a big lit up room. but it's not one room. It looks like it's a ginormous. It looked like a warehouse, and then all around me were these little tiny rooms. There was no doors on any of these things, and there's a lot of them. I mean, 100 of these little tiny rooms, and I'm like, "What is this place?" But what I haven't told you guys in the from earlier is I have empathic abilities, and they go with me all over the place. And this is a way to sense another energy fields. It can be emotions. It can be. It's all, honestly, it's negativity that stands out from another energy field. And you sense this, and it's all invisible. But you know it's present, very present. Yeah. So when I got off this thing, I stepped down, I looked around, I see all these little tiny rooms. They almost look like closets, but there's no doors. But there's walls separating everything. But again, there's no doors. And I felt this unbelievably, horrifically bad sensation, like, this is bad. Where am I? They said, you're in a prison. Think about that for a second. They said you're in a prison. It's just not a typical prison. Apparently, it was an energy-based prison. And they told me that there are people here. They're not humans. And we don't have bars. They're inside of like an energy field prison room. Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing that popped in my head was Star Trek again. And, you know, if they were going to put somebody in detention, he goes into a room, they hit a button, and you can see this semi-invisible field. And if somebody were to try to leave it, they would get zapped by some sort of energy. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Put a prison on the backside of the moon. Nobody wants to come here anyway. Or, you know, it seems like there's a conspiracy for when you're not given the truth. You're given some sort of swayed answer. So that makes sense. But it felt so real, I have to believe it was. And with my empathic ability, I was able to sense all these bad people. I couldn't see or hear them, but it was present. I mean, it was crazy. And that was all the experience was. And they ended up taking me back, and I broke out of meditation, and that was that. So
you didn't see any other buildings or spaceships or anything that people would expect to be on the other side of the moon?
Well, if it was there, I don't recall. Yeah. It seems that they can only show you so much at once, because if it showed you multiple things, you wouldn't know how to process it. Your brain is powerful, but it's not perfect, or it's not going. It's not in. When I'm in deep meditation, the other thing is I don't have peripheral vision. I have to turn my head like an owl. Yeah, and that way I can see things, and sometimes that's not perfect either. So it is what it is. But it's an experience that's extremely difficult to relate and explain. But I just say what it is from my own conjuring.
You know, like I say, a lot of these experiences, what you're seeing, what you're looking at, it's all a learning process. Yeah. But also, it's a brilliant experience, isn't it? You know yourself what is on the other side of the moon. You know, a lot of people talk about it, the dark side of the moon and one thing or another and what's there and everything. But you've actually been there. You've actually seen something.
I've seen it, and I say to myself, I'm good. I don't really need to ever come back on this side. Look, there's a lot of things to do, a lot of life. Wish we had more time. There's so much more to talk about, but that is, you know, it is what it is.
Well, I want to ask one other question, because we have about 5 more minutes, and I just wanted to know if you could talk about, you mentioned something about time traveling to the past.
Everybody wants to know about this. Yeah. So, all right, really brief. It's done in deep meditation. So what's the difference between deep meditation to the moon and time travel? Well, there's one specific difference. When I want to travel to the past, I have to put a date. I have to set my intention for a specific location and a date. Yes, and a timeline, exactly. Because if you don't do that, it's an unknown.
You never asked me this one, Mark. Not that you'd get an answer.
No, anyway, I never get an answer, so what's the point?
Well, I don't. I've done it many times.
I did this the first time. I've done it 3 times. I did it the first time to find out. I needed to find out something, and just really quick. So I dropped into deep meditation. I was under escort again. I didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't know there was going to be a ripple effect. I didn't know exactly what. So I do it, and I find myself where I set my intention. I needed to go to my childhood house again and go to that bedroom and find out what's the deal with the closet. Because I knew that thing from, as I discussed earlier, there was something very wrong about that closet. So I went there, and I asked my guide to illuminate. I needed to see what was in the closet. So I saw myself, my guide, I sensed him behind me, and then I saw a reptilian being. And he's standing in the closet. And I shot myself back to like 1985 or something like that. And this is not coincidental with Back to the Future, the movie. But anyway, so that's the time I sent myself back to. And I saw this reptilian being here, and a reptilian being to me looks like, because I've seen these in real time, and they're the same to me. If you ever saw the cartoon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, take away all the clothing and the nice looks, and you have this green, kind of sloppy-looking, smudgy thing. That's all it looks like to me. And that has manifested several times since. But I went back in time and found out that this thing was like monitoring me. This is pre-car accident as well. This is way back. He has been monitored. He was sent in from somewhere to monitor me and make sure certain things didn't happen in my life. And I was able to resolve those certain things because I was back in time, literally. And then when I came out of my time traveling experience and woke up from meditation, I went through some sort of radical healing process. The one thing I have to note is when I woke up out of the meditation, I couldn't move anything. I was literally paralyzed. It wasn't any sort of fear. There was absolutely no negativity sensed at all. I felt that I was overheated. I was very sweaty. My wife was in the house when I did this, and I had asked her, how long was I in meditation for? I think on another time I've asked how long I was gone for. And she said, you were in the room for about 15 minutes. And I felt like I had been gone for days. That's how when I woke up out of this, I felt so exhausted. And I was fine when I went into the meditation, completely drenched in sweat, waking up, overheated, can't move. It was temporary paralyzation for about a minute. And then everything came back, and then I felt my body going through some sort of charging event. It felt like massive tingles to an area throughout my body, and that was it. And it has been an interesting thing. And I've told other people about this, and they compare it to regression and hypnosis. They don't have the tingles and the heat, but it's a parallel. There is something there.
Yeah. Just a quick question. While you were there in that room and you saw this being, did you attempt any communication with it?
Yes. And I had my guides force it to speak about why it was there. And then we ended up neutralizing the negative being, which then there was a ripple that affected me on a current timeline, which was the healing that I sensed. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I do. I understand. Okay. So where are we now, Mark?
Well, we have reached the end of the show. Daniel, your story is very fascinating. Now, again, where can people get in touch with you regarding your healings and other services?
So I have a website. All my services are international, pending you speak or read or write English. VegaStarHealings.com. So Vega, V-E-G-A, Star, S-T-A-R, Healings, Healings.com.
And you will be able to see that, people, on the promo that we put out tomorrow. We've put Daniel's website on it, so it's easy for you to find it. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Well, Daniel, thank you very much for coming on the program today. Yes, this is really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me. I love talking about the stories.
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. I tell you, it was different. I enjoyed it. Didn't you, Mark?
Yes, I did too. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another edition of the Paranormal UK radio show here on the Paranormal UK radio network. We are also rebroadcast on Mondays on Art Bell's Dark Matter Digital Network. Plus, you can download or load our podcast on our website, paukradio.com, Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes, and where else, Irene?
Just about everywhere, and we're streaming this show for continuously for 1 week. So
yep, on the website.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a great week. Daniel, thank you again, and Irene, we'll catch you later.
Okay. Bye, everyone.